This is the Uthfy 4800 CFM Evaporative air cooler. Right out of the box, this thing is surprisingly big but still easy to move. The design is pretty sleek and modern, finished in deep navy blue with a nice digital display up front that lets you know exactly what's going on. It stands about 41 inches tall and won't take up much space in your garage or on the patio. The look is pretty simple, honestly. It just kind of fits wherever you need it to go, which I like a lot. The casters underneath are a huge bonus for me because, let's be real, you don't want to lug a 44-pound cooler around when you could just roll it where you want. Two of the wheels even lock, which means it'll actually stay put and not drift away if you're on a slight slope outside. In my opinion, what makes this cooler stand out is how it manages to cool such big areas without actually being a traditional air conditioner, so it's not blasting freezing cold air and running up your electric bill. Instead, it uses a pretty simple concept called evaporative cooling. Basically, you fill the 10.6-gallon water tank, either through an easy top fill slot, or, if you're lazy like me, just snap on your garden hose with the adapter and walk away. And chill it down even more by dropping in the ice packs it comes with. When you switch it on, the cooler pulls in air through three sides, passes it over water-soaked pads, and then pushes that cooler, slightly damper air back out into your space. If you've never used an evaporative cooler, it's just like having a breeze by a lake on a hot day. It feels both cool and a bit humid, which can be awesome in dry heat, but may feel different if you live somewhere muggy. From my experience, this thing has plenty of power. The 4800 CFM airflow rating means it moves a ton of air, and I personally tested it in my garage, which is about 800 square feet. I also wheeled it out to my backyard patio when friends were over, and both times, the space felt noticeably cooler after a few minutes. One feature I really appreciate is the 110-degree side-to-side oscillation. You can set it to automatically swing, blowing cool air around the room and reaching more corners. The up and down angle can be tweaked manually. The 3 fan speeds and cooling modes are straightforward. You just use the buttons on top or grab the remote if you don't feel like getting up. On the highest setting, it really pushes air. We had paper plates flying one afternoon during a cookout, so I know it packs a punch. When it comes to ease of use, the Uthfy doesn't overcomplicate things. There's nothing confusing on the control panel, just buttons for power, fan speed, swing, and cooling. Filling it up with water is as simple as popping the top, pouring or using the hose, and making sure the water level isn't below minimum or over max. The unit does have a readout, but you can pretty much just peek in if you're not sure. I always use the included ice packs, which just slip into their own compartment. They make a real difference when you want those first few minutes of airflow to feel extra chilly. The big bonus here is you can set the timer for up to 12 hours, so if you want the place cool before you get home or don't want it running all night, just set it and forget it. I want to talk about energy use because that's often a big concern. In my opinion, this cooler is so much more efficient than a regular portable air conditioner. There's no need to worry about venting hot air out a window, and it doesn't overload your circuits. Since it just uses a fan and a water pump instead of a full-on ASAC compressor, my utility bill barely showed a blip with this running on weekends. Not everything's perfect. There are definitely a few things I'd want you to know if you're considering one. First off, evaporative coolers like this really shine in dry, hot places. If you're somewhere humid already, you may not feel the cooling effect as much. And in fact, too much humidity can make you feel sticky instead of comfortable. Just something to consider based on your climate. Also, it does need a bit of attention if you want it to work its best. Every few weeks, I rinse out the tank and pads, just so there's no mineral buildup or weird smells. It's not rocket science. It maybe takes me 10 minutes. But you don't want to skip it. I will say that at full speed, this machine definitely makes some noise. Not so much like a vacuum or anything, but it's a strong fan, so be prepared for a constant low whoosh. In my experience, it actually works as a bit of background noise during the day, but if you're thinking of watching movies or having a deep conversation right next to it, you'll notice the sound, especially compared to a quiet mini split AC. Another small note, despite the big tank, you might find yourself refilling it every day or two if it's super hot out or if you run it nonstop. Adding ice does cut down on that though, and in general, you can leave it going overnight without waking up to an empty tank. If you've never used something like this before, just keep in mind that swamp cooler is just another way of saying evaporative cooler. The evaporation process actually adds humidity to the air rather than taking it out like an AC, so it helps in dry climates. It's safer to use outdoors, in garages, workshops, or on patios, but you can use it inside if your space isn't too humid already. I'd recommend this for anyone with a garage, sunroom, or backyard patio who wants to stay cool without a massive electricity bill. In conclusion, the Uthfy 4800 CFM evaporative air cooler is powerful, easy to use, and way more energy efficient than a regular AC. The portability, with real lockable wheels, helps you use it wherever you want. The controls are easy, the build feels solid with its metal body, and I didn't have to mess around figuring out how to set it up. Maintenance is simple, as long as you don't mind the odd tank rinse out. It does exactly what it says: cool large spaces quickly, especially if you live somewhere dry. I had my doubts at first, thinking a machine this size might be hard to deal with, but honestly, I was happy with how straightforward it is. The included 3 ice packs are a nice touch, and the ability to set the timer for overnight cooling makes it practical for everyday use. If you're after an affordable way to stay cool on those hot days, especially for outdoor activities like barbecues, working in your garage, or chilling on the porch, I'd recommend trying out the Uthfy. I will share detailed information about the Uthfy 4800 CFM evaporative air cooler in the comments section, everyone. Thank you for watching.